What's up, gamers, and welcome back for more WotC-20. Today's matchup is Chaos Move Gengar versus Zero, which is Zapdos and Aerodactyl. Specifically, Rocket Zapdos, so big basics, get a lockout early. And Gengar, of course, you're familiar with. We've seen a lot of Chaos Move on the channel, but not too much lately, so I'm excited to narrate this one. Opening actives look like Mr. Mime from Jungle off against a Cleffa, and turn 1 going to Arrow is a big deal. You can see a Haymaker Electabuzz sitting in the hand there. And it will join the bench along with a Fossil Egg roll. This will be to try to get out Aerodactyl as soon as possible. Fossil Egg being a Tails is a good start for Gengar here. Can only watch right now on turn 1. Lightning Energy to Cleffa will be a guaranteed eke off of Mime. And it looks like we are going to see a secret mission. So I believe that is going to be a hand peep here. You can see the hand being laid out for Gengar, a Town V, a Trader, a Gengar. And they will discard 3 from their own hand, being Gust, Scoop Up, and a Lightning Energy. Going very hard to draw 3 and try to get something going here. Try to get an arrow out early. Secret Mission lets you look at the opponent's hand, then you may discard as many cards as you want from your hand to draw that many. So it was a full pitch there with Secret Mission. And seeing the fan club in hand is probably why that Secret Mission resulted in a pitch 3. I saw a Scoop Up and a Gust and one other thing, maybe it was Energy discarded as a result of that. Seeing the fan club, you can see an Igglybuff and a Ghastly joining the field. So that Ghastly is a big HP free retreater, 50 HP, really good basic. Lick is a great response to Mr. Mime, which is still in the active slot. And Igglybuff, very important in this matchup because of Gaze. So once per turn, you can choose one of your opponent's bench Pokemon with a power, and that power stops working until the end of the turn. So that is how you shut off Aerodactyl. Worth noting, it's only to the bench, so if you put Aerodactyl into the active slot, that is a way to deal with Igglybuff in the short term while you try to get out a second arrow. Second arrow is kind of hard to get out though. You kind of need a Fossil Egg or an Ammonite to allow you to do the flips because you won't be able to evolve a Fossil into the second arrow. So a little bit of nuanced play there. Both sides recognizing the lock being set up. And the Trader sending that Gengar back in to get a Cleffa. With 2 energy in hand, that Mr. Mime will be able to retreat, but Eke will not be able to happen. So Zero getting another turn to try to get the lock up. And there's the Psychic attached for a retreat on Mime, putting up the Ghastly, not putting up the Cleffa. And a pass. Fossil Egg number 2. We'll see if this brings out the first Aerodactyl. It does not, so double tails on the Fossil Eggs for Arrow. Not the best luck. I'm surprised that we don't see Cleffa up in the active spot. Now, Buried Fossil does come down here, worth noting. Reconstruction is a power on that Fossil. It also has 30 HP instead of 10 for regular Mysterious Fossil. We'll see if that ability gets used. If it does, it lets you take a basic energy from your hand, insert your deck for Ammonite or Kabuto, show it to the opponent, and put it into your hand. Instead, we'll see Fan Club bring out a Raikou. One of 2 Raikou from Neo Revelation. The other one is a holofoil. This one is a non-foil, but this one is a free retreating, big HP, 60 HP basic, with a legendary body Pokemon power. So current rulings mean that it is, when in the active, you cannot be gusted, so good gust protection for your Aerodactyls. And another Buried Fossil comes down. So 2 Buried Fossils available, but you won't be able to evolve both of them from hand. I guess if you get your arrow into the active slot and it gets paralyzed by the opponent's lick, you could set up the second one. You could evolve it from hand naturally during your turn if one was paralyzed. And instead, Rocket Zapdos will fill out the bench here. So this does not allow this does not allow for the full Aerodactyl setup based on Igglybuff being on the field here. So full range of attackers certainly present, matchup dependent. Cleffa retreats out to put in Electabuzz. Electabuzz is going to swing. Thundershock is heads, so it's 10 with paralysis, so Ghastly cannot free retreat this turn now. Haunter comes down, immediately healing that paralysis on evolution to then free retreat out and put Cleffa in, which will get a free Eek. And it's Eek. So Haunter being down is okay. Nightmare does 10 damage and causes sleep. Transparency is really the cool effect on Haunter, where whenever an attack does anything to Haunter, you flip a coin. If heads, you prevent all effects of that attack, including damage done to Haunter. Metal attached return to Electabuzz. And rolling for a Thunder Punch, it's a heads. That's enough for a knockout. Oh no, that was for the baby rule, my apologies. Needs double heads. It is not double heads, so since it is tails, it'll deal, let's see, 20, and no recoil damage to the Electabuzz because of metal math. So there is a arrow in play, but as long as it's not in the active, Iggly can shut it off. There's no more room on the bench for a second Aerodactyl, so finding a game plan to address that Iggly buff would definitely be helpful. Psychic Attach return to Haunter on the bench. Reminder that it has 10 damage on it, because I can't read the die. 20 on Cleffa. And that Aerodactyl on the bench is a pre-release printing, so very cool stamp on that one. I can see that, but I can't see the dice. Quick bin check here, looking at fossil eggs, probably trying to figure out how set up this lock is. If you start taking prizes, will the second arrow come down? Probably in consideration. No gray hairs on the Gengar player, perfectly chill with a top tier deck. If you want gray hair, go play Dark Wheezing. And we see an ER targeting what I assume is not the metal. It is the lightning. Turning off 2 attacks for that Electabuzz, and in comes the first Gengar with Chaos Move. Very strong ability. Once per turn, if the opponent has 3 or fewer prizes, you can move a damage counter from one Pokemon to another. It can be yours or your opponent's, and it can knock them out. So, very strong ability, obviously turned off when Gengar is affected by a special condition. But if you can put your Mime into the active, Mime and Gengar make a fantastic lock combo, can really just auto-win games that can't deal with Mime. Invincible Wall is going to prevent any damage to Mime that does 30 or more. So only dealing 20 damage at a time with Chaos Move, especially if there's 2 Gengars, you're just not going to be able to take prizes. Goldberry onto Rocket Zapdos, and a new Mew has joined the bench. Sometimes you see Lilypad Mew, other times you might see Expedition Mew. Expedition Mew is here because of Super Psywave, where you choose one of your opponent's Pokemon, count the energy cards attached to it, and put that many damage counters on it. So, very effective that it is a put instead of a damage dealing attack. It gets around metal. Very good against metal, and it can target bench. Another Ghastly joins the bench. Nice reverse holo there. Both benches for both sides now full. So you can see getting worked towards that second Gengar line. Second attached to Gengar, so now it has 2 Psychic Energy out of the 3 it needs to start attacking, and Hide in Shadows is a good attack. 2 Psychic and a colorless. Hide in Shadows deals 40, and then you switch Gengar out of the active with one of your benched Pokemon, if any. It's not a may, you must do it, but there's so many free retreaters in format, unlike an E-card where it is very, very synergistic with Haunters, Ghastlies, Babies, you name it. Very hard to target Gengar down once it can attack and hide. Pass from 0, not a great turn there. Looks like energy stalled here, unable to get Electabuzz out of the active. Haunter evolves into the Ghastly in the active, which was planned, I guess, based on status. Come to think of it, that might have, if it was clutched up, I forget what the hand was at the time, that also might have been why Ghastly was put in active earlier. Even though it allowed for an Eek, it didn't dangle a Cleffa for paralysis. That makes a lot of sense. I still would have forced for the flips instead of giving a free Eek to a lock deck, but there are no wrong answers. Psychic attached to Haunter for turn. So we saw Hide in Shadows deal 30 to Electabuzz. 70 HP on that big basic though, it is a great card. Copycat for 5 here, pretty good size, lots of Pokemon in hand, see a fan club, full bench, so those aren't going to do much here for 0. And another turn of thinking. Shortcutting the sequence there, but it is basically Haunter going to the bench off of a free retreat, and then Hide in Shadows with Gengar to deal 30. 40 reduced to 30 because of metal attached to Electabuzz. Electabuzz 10 damage away from being knocked out. Still no prizes yet, but I think we're starting to get the prizes breaking out here. It looks like a pass back. Lots of dead turns here for 0. Second Gengar comes down. Copycat again. Now for 6. 2 babies, a mime. 2 Gengars. Tough board state to come back on, even if prizes weren't at 6-6 still. Psychic Energy for turn to the Gengar that can't attack yet. That's at 2 out of 3. Hide in Shadows will give us our first knockout. We'll see what gets fronted here. And it will be just another Gengar. Cleffa comes up, has 1 Psychic Energy attached. Now you can see the Ammonite there. So that reconstruction play we were talking about earlier would have been valid. Of course, Ammonite does commit bench space, but in a deck with Rocket Zapdos and Scoop Up, it's perfectly usable. Elekid comes down off of a Fan Club for 1. And a big hand here. I guess what you can try to do is power up Rocket Zapdos with a couple of metals. Eek resolving. Now both Gengars can both hide in shadows. Rolling for the baby rule. It's a heads, prizing now 4-6. Tyrogue comes up. Gengar swapping with Gengar. Full grip off of the Eek before it got knocked out. We'll see what kind of answers are in this hand. You can see a computer search, can go and get anything with that. A little bit of energy. Will be a lightning attached to Rocket Zapdos, so that will have to be the committed path to victory here. Would save all the gusting effects to try to target down the Gengar with energy. Earlier talking about 2 metal attaches, that would definitely present a problem for dealing with Mime. Not sure if this deck is running Goop Gas or not. Probably not. That would be a little silly with Arrow. Plasma for turn will deal 20 to Gengar. That'll help a little. Sets it up for an Electro Burn knockout, but that would be a lot of recoil. There is Goldberry in play. Recycle Energy comes down onto Mew. Hide in Shadows will deal 40, popping Goldberry, switching into that Mew. Expedition Mew has 50 HP. Now you could set up a Plasma here to then Electro Burn next turn if you have a Gust effect in hand that can take out one of the Gengar. But then you're also definitely knocking out your Zapdos. Lightning attached to turn to Raikou. Has a pretty good attack on that Raikou too. Lightning Spark deals 30 to active for 3 lightning, and then you flip a coin. If it's heads, you can deal 20 damage to one of your opponent's bench. So pretty good. Looking for answers in here. You can see some Warps, Cyclone. Good deck peep. There is a Gust. Just one from what I can tell. There's an Oak. Going and fetching with that comp search a Rocket Zapdos. One more peek. Looking for answers to put together a game plan to come back from a 4-6 prizing. And I think we're going to see a scoop. So, unable to get the lockdown early. Gengar got set up, and from there it was off to the races for prizing. So thank you for watching. We'll check you out next time.